Now, top RBI officials, including Governor Shaktikanta Das, have told a parliamentary panel on finance that cryptocurrencies can lead to dollarization of the part of the economy. This as per sources. RBI officials have also said that the dollarization of the economy would be against India's sovereign interest. Sources also suggest that the central bank officials are of the view that cryptocurrencies pose a bigger threat to the stability of the financial system. It is to be noted that India currently has an estimated 15 to 20 million crypto investors. So what are these RBI's concerns? Let's go across to Jayjeet Bhattacharya, who is joining us this morning. He's the president of the Center for Digital Economic Policy Research. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. What does dollarization of the economy mean for the benefit of our viewers, and how legitimate are RBI's concerns?
Means is that you can run the economy on currency which is not controlled by RBI, right? So, if you don't print rupee, why don't we use dollar? It's a stable currency. Why don't we use dollar to buy our vegetables and so on and so forth? Now, clearly there's a problem in using foreign currency to run your economy. You don't have control over the currency. So, for example, in the last 2 years, when you had COVID, there had to be a monetary policy intervention done to make sure that the economy continues to run, and that leads to inflation, but the economy survives, the jobs of people survive, and overall we are able to move forward. But when you don't have control over the currency, such as a dollar being the currency, you don't have control over these tools, and therefore the economy can go into a free fall and sink. Now, when you start using cryptocurrencies, these are currencies which are actually dollar denominated, and also none of them are Indian currencies. They are created by somebody else.
Yes.
Mostly American, and even if it's created somewhere, in a non-American country, the point is that the RBI and the Indian government does not have control over these currencies, so there is no monetary tool available to save the economy when we are in that situation.
Yes. Jayjeet, Indian government is also wary of cryptocurrencies. Now the RBI officials are saying that cryptocurrencies can replace a part of the monetary system and also undermine RBI's capacity to regulate the flow of money in the system. Are there any mitigating measures put in place by the crypto players that can reduce these risks, and also the risks that the government has cited of money laundering and terror financing?
The point is, the moment you put in these checks and balances, such as KYC, know your customer, CFT, which is stopping terror funding, and so on and so forth, then the cryptocurrency becomes as cumbersome as a fiat currency. Then the question comes in as to why are we even using cryptocurrency? The reason cryptocurrency is largely being used now is because it provides ease of transaction and it provides anonymity. Even though some people may challenge that crypto is on blockchain, so there is no anonymity. Well, the ability to crack that is not lying with the Indian government. The US government can crack that. Indian government does not have the ability to crack and figure out who is owning what cryptocurrency, and therefore it provides anonymity. Once you have anonymity, you can therefore do transactions which you don't want the normal banking system to see, which are clearly largely illegal transactions, or speculating on a currency which is not really a currency. It's an asset which does not have any backing at all, and therefore it's not a currency that can be used, or it's not a asset that can be used, and it's extremely destabilizing for the Indian government. In a nutshell, when you have large Ponzi schemes coming in, I'm dithering to say the word Ponzi scheme because there are many who will say that the value is in the eyes of the beholder. Now, that happens when it's a piece of art, and therefore a few people believe that there is some value to that particular art. But if there are millions who think that something which does not fundamentally have any value behind it does have value behind it, there's a significant problem. The RBI director also had earlier referred to the Ponzi scheme of the tulips, which happened in the 17th century. And his response was that, look, the crypto does not even have a tulip behind it. And therefore, you see there's been a bloodbath in the market where about $300 million have been wiped out. $300 billion have been wiped out from the market, which, to give you a perspective, is larger than the total economy of Pakistan. So an entire country's economy have been wiped out in the bloodbath that happened in the cryptocurrency market, which shows how unstable it is and why not having an asset backup is a huge problem for dealing with something like a cryptocurrency.
Let me understand what you're saying. Are you saying that there's now crypto tax, this new rule to tackle crypto tax evasion, with crypto companies asked to store KYC information and financial transaction of customers for 5 years? Are you saying that these are cumbersome? This will make the entire crypto market cumbersome, or do you think these are the steps in the right direction, a positive step towards regulation?
Well, I mean, the point is that this is needed for that matter, right? And it is going to make it cumbersome, the same as it with fiat currency. What if we remove all checks and balances on rupee being traded? Why should anybody use cryptocurrency and not use rupee? Why will you not use UPI and use crypto to make a transaction? UPI is instantaneous, crypto is not instantaneous. So to bring in parity in terms of the safety and security of these transactions, it is for sure needed to have KYC and CFT. But do keep in mind that KYC and CFT is only being imposed by the Indian crypto exchanges. The rest of the exchanges globally are not under the sovereignty of the Indian government, and therefore you can buy cryptos from elsewhere, sell it in India, or the other way around, and you can buy cryptos in India and do trade in a foreign crypto exchange, and therefore you can still do money laundering, you can still do financing of terror, and you can still buy guns and drugs with that money without any oversight of the Indian government. The Indian government has oversight and jurisdiction of only the entities that are there in India, not beyond that. Whereas crypto is a global phenomenon in that sense, and therefore you can do transactions anywhere else in the world.
So, Jayjit, is the onus on the crypto players to put in these mitigating measures to allay the concerns of the government, or can the government do something?
Well, it has to be an oversight of the government. So if you draw a parallel with, let's say, the banking system, it is under RBI's jurisdiction and RBI's direction that the KYC standards are put into place. What constitutes KYC? Does a passport constitute KYC? If I put in the passport of Grenada, is that good enough KYC? Or do I need to be an Indian citizen? There'll be 20 questions in terms of what is KYC. So clearly, the Indian government, if it wants to really put in KYC, has to come out with more concrete rules and regulations of KYC. And once you start doing it, it'll be very clear that you need to have a global organization to implement, just like what you have in regular transaction, where there are organizations such as SWIFT, which already enable 6-point KYCs to be put in along with the money. So the KYC flows with the money, and therefore those transactions are therefore processed. So both the Indian government and some kind of a global consortium has to come in and put these principles in place. Unilaterally, the Indian government will not be in a position to put it.
Yes. All right, so interesting suggestions there. Jayjit, last couple of questions. Let's return to what RBI officials have said. They've said, according to sources, that it will also have a negative impact on the banking system, as these being attractive assets, people may invest their hard-earned savings in these currencies. Is this concern genuine, or can banks not make their policies more competitive?
No, this is actually very worrisome because of the point I mentioned. What is it that's backing the cryptocurrencies? Right? Is there a large economy that is backing it? Now, as I've always argued in my various writings and articles, that dollar was perhaps the first cryptocurrency in the sense that it was not backed by an actual asset, but it was backed by the global energy trade, and was backed by the US trade and the US economy, and that's huge. But that is not the case in terms of crypto. Largely, any real transaction that's happening is on the darknet, on things that are not legal in nature. Because if you want to buy something legal in nature, you will just use a digital currency, which is much cheaper. Because keep in mind, for every transaction you're doing in crypto, you also have to pay what is called the gas price. And that makes the transaction quite expensive. So why do you want to go through those transactions and pay the gas price when you can simply use a UPI payment to make the payment? And so it's extremely worrisome if people move their money into crypto. And as you mentioned in the beginning, there are about 15 to 20 million people in India who are using crypto. And if they are even spending $50 on an average, we have about $1 billion of Indian money lying out there, sold to others who made these, just bunch of codes. And we sold them in hard currency. We exchanged US dollar against these rupees to pay for these cryptos. That's extremely worrisome. So if people move their money from banks into cryptos, well, they will come back to review that moment, just as what is happening right now. even if you go back to 2018 when there was a huge debate going on whether RBI did the right thing in terms of stopping all transactions in crypto, the cryptocurrencies had fallen by 80% in 1 week. And again, there was an equivalent of $300 billion wiped out from the market. So it will be extremely worrisome if Indian household savings are put into cryptos. It will lead to a lot of heartburn in India. And if I might just add, it'll lead to people opting for suicide and so on and so forth, which has been happening quite often in India in such circumstances.
Yeah, those are genuine concerns, Jayjit. But as you said, there are about 15 to 20 million crypto investors. We've been talking about that. So the RBI has concerns, the government has concerns. Can they do away with cryptocurrency, or do they have to regulate it and learn to live with it? What's the big picture of cryptocurrency going forward in India?
So from the government side, as based on our conversations with the government for the last couple of years, it is an issue that needs to be tackled. There's still no clarity for the reason you mentioned. Before the Supreme Court overturned the RBI directive of stopping all transactions on crypto, there was very little investment into crypto from the Indian side, and therefore it was manageable. Once the RBI allowed the banks to actually enable crypto transactions to happen, we suddenly have 15 to 20 million people investing their money into it. And these are typically 20-something people who do not understand the background of the cryptos. They are investing into it because they have heard that you get incredible returns out of it. Now, if nobody is working, nobody is creating any value out of it, how do you get incredible returns out of it? You'll get incredible returns when you can sell that currency to somebody else, or that Bitcoin or that crypto to somebody else who believes there is value. And at some point in time, that belief will shatter, like what is happening at this current moment where the cryptos are in a free fall. Even cryptos which are backed by dollar, which are called stable coins, which had one-to-one linkage between dollar and the crypto, they suddenly dropped to nothing. They're, something that was selling at $70 is now selling at 20 cents. That's a huge fall in value. So it is of concern for the government. Right. Is there a way out? It is kind of a nuisance value at this stage, if I can paraphrase it. And therefore, it is for the government to ensure that that less number of people get hurt in India because of cryptocurrencies.
Yes. All right, Jayjit Bhattacharya, important points raised there. Thanks very much for joining us and giving us your perspective on this story.